What if everything your doctor told you about neuropathy is actually making it worse? For decades, the standard medical advice for tingling, burning feet and legs after 60 has been exactly the same. Take the medication. Reduce your activity. Protect the nerves from further stress. Rest more. Move less. And millions of seniors followed that advice faithfully, trusting the system, doing everything right. But I need to ask you something important. If that advice was actually working, why are over 20 million Americans over 60 still suffering from worsening neuropathy every single year? Why are more people losing feeling in their feet today than ever before in recorded medical history? Something isn't adding up. And when I dug into the research, the studies that never make it onto mainstream news, I found an answer that genuinely disturbed me. Because the truth is, that exact approach, the resting, the limiting, the over-medicating, may be the very reason your neuropathy keeps getting worse. Not better, worse. Here is what nobody is telling you. Nerves don't heal in stillness. They heal through something very specific, a targeted, deliberate movement pattern that forces fresh, oxygenated blood back into the exact pathways that have been slowly suffocating inside your legs and feet. And the moment you stop that movement, the moment you sit still and wait for a pill to fix it, those pathways begin closing off again. I've been sitting on this information for a while, genuinely debating whether to share it publicly, because what I'm about to show you goes against almost everything mainstream medicine recommends. But after seeing patient after patient walk into my office defeated, in pain, told there was nothing left to do, I decided I could not stay quiet any longer. Stay with me. What comes next may be the most important thing you watch all year. Her name was Patricia, 67 years old, retired school teacher, with hands that still moved like she was writing on a chalkboard even when she was just talking. She came into my office wearing compression socks she'd been told would help, socks she had been pulling on every single morning for 2 full years with no meaningful improvement whatsoever. The burning in her feet had grown so severe that she stopped attending her grandchildren's school events entirely, because standing on hard floors for more than 10 minutes felt like walking barefoot across hot gravel. She had tried gabapentin. She had tried B12 supplements from the pharmacy shelf. She had even purchased one of those electrical stimulation devices she found advertised online at 2 in the morning when the pain wouldn't let her sleep. Nothing held. Nothing lasted. What conventional medicine had missed was not the existence of her nerve damage. It was the precise mechanism driving why her nerves were continuing to deteriorate despite every treatment she tried. The blood vessels responsible for supplying her peripheral nerves had become so chronically constricted from years of reduced movement that no oral medication could adequately reach the tissue that needed healing most. The irrigation lines were blocked. The medicine had nowhere to travel. We introduced one specific seated movement into her daily routine, 12 minutes a day. No standing required, no equipment, no special footwear, just a chair she already owned, and a simple rhythmic motion I taught her in my office in under 3 minutes. Within 6 weeks, Patricia reported a 40% reduction in nighttime burning. Her sleep, disrupted for 2 consecutive years, returned. She attended her granddaughter's spring recital and stood through the entire performance. That result is not exceptional. It is repeatable. And the biology behind it is exactly what I want to explain to you right now. What happened to Patricia has a precise biological name, peripheral nerve ischemia, and it is far more widespread after 60 than most physicians have the appointment time to properly explain. Here is what is actually happening inside your legs and feet right now. Your peripheral nerves, the ones responsible for every sensation you feel from the knee down, are fed by a dedicated network of tiny blood vessels called vasa nervorum. Think of these vessels as the irrigation system running beneath a garden. When water flows freely and consistently, everything above ground stays alive and responsive. But when that flow is restricted, through chronic inactivity, arterial stiffness, or the prolonged compression of simply sitting still for too many hours, the garden begins dying from the roots upward. That tingling you feel, that burning sensation at 2 in the morning, that unsettling numbness that makes the floor feel like it's shifting beneath your feet, those are distress signals from nerve tissue whose irrigation system has been quietly shutting down for years. A landmark study published in the journal Neurology found that adults over 60 with sedentary daily patterns had a 67% higher rate of progressive peripheral neuropathy compared to age-matched peers who maintained even modest lower limb movement throughout their day. 67%. That is not a marginal difference, that is a defining one. I know that sounds alarming, stay with me, because what comes next is where the hope lives. And here is what makes this more serious than most people realize. Once peripheral nerve ischemia reaches a critical threshold, the damage does not simply plateau, it accelerates. Less blood flow means more tissue atrophy, which further compresses the vessel, which further reduces flow. A self-reinforcing cycle. One that medication alone was never designed to break. I'm Dr. Ben Ahmadi. I've spent years working directly with patients over 60 whose lives were being quietly dismantled by conditions their previous doctors had written off as irreversible. Conditions that, with the right information and the right intervention, showed genuine, measurable improvement. That is the only credential that matters to me. Not a title on a wall. Results in real people's lives. This channel exists for one reason: to give you the information that too often gets left out of a 15-minute clinical appointment. The research that exists but never gets translated into plain language. The mechanisms behind what you're feeling that nobody has taken the time to properly explain. If you haven't subscribed yet, I want you to consider it, not for my benefit, but because what we cover here week after week has the genuine potential to change the trajectory of how you age, how you move, and how much of your life you are able to fully participate in. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's keep going. Because what I'm about to walk you through in the next several minutes is the part of this conversation that most people never hear from their physician. Before I get into the full breakdown, I want to plant something in your mind. The single most powerful intervention I'll share today, number one on this list, is something almost no specialist is currently recommending to their patients. It is counterintuitive. It is backed by research that most clinicians haven't encountered yet, and it involves a timing element that changes everything about how effective everything else becomes. I'll be building toward it deliberately. Every item on this list is a layer of understanding you'll need before number one makes complete sense. Let's begin. Number 5, the sitting position that is quietly strangling your nerves. Most people assume sitting is neutral. It is not. When you sit with your knees bent sharply and your feet motionless on the floor for extended periods, you compress the popliteal artery behind the knee, a primary supply route for blood traveling into the lower leg. A 2019 University of Missouri study found that just 1 hour of uninterrupted sitting reduced lower limb blood flow by up to 52% in adults over 65. The correction. Every 30 minutes, perform 5 slow ankle circles in each direction, then lift your heels 10 times. This alone restores vascular rhythm and sets the stage for number 4. Number 4. The B12 mistake that is feeding your neuropathy instead of fighting it. Most neuropathy patients are taking B12 in the wrong form. Cyanocobalamin, the version in most pharmacy supplements, requires multiple metabolic conversion steps that become severely impaired after 60. Blood levels appear normal. Neuropathy continues progressing. The active form, methylcobalamin, bypasses this conversion entirely and crosses the blood-nerve barrier directly. A trial published in Muscle and Nerve showed measurable nerve conduction improvement within 8 weeks in patients who switched. Practical application: 1,000 to 1,500 micrograms of methylcobalamin daily with morning food. Check your label before your next dose. Number 3. The blood sugar spike nobody warns you about, even if you're not diabetic. Before number 3, I want to hear from you. Drop your age and your most disruptive neuropathy symptom in the comments below. I read every one. Now, postprandial glucose spikes cause direct oxidative damage to the myelin sheath, even in non-diabetic adults. Johns Hopkins research found nerve conduction deficits in non-diabetic seniors comparable to early diabetic neuropathy. The fix: a 10-minute seated movement session within 20 minutes of every meal. Number 2, the circulation reset you can do in any chair that most physical therapists don't know to prescribe. This is the movement that changed Patricia's life. It is called seated dorsiflexion pumping, and it works by activating the soleus muscle deep within the calf. Physiologists refer to the soleus as the body's second heart. Unlike nearly every other muscle, the soleus contracts meaningfully without standing, without exertion, without strain on your joints. When you rhythmically flex and extend your foot while seated, the soleus pumps venous blood back up from the lower leg toward the heart, while simultaneously creating a pressure differential that pulls fresh arterial blood down into the foot and nerve tissue. Here is the exact protocol. Seated, both feet flat on the floor, keep your heels grounded and slowly raise your toes and the front of your foot as high as comfortably possible, then lower completely. That is 1 repetition. Perform this continuously for 3 to 5 minutes, 2 to 3 times daily. A 2022 study published in iScience found this specific movement increased soleus-mediated blood flow by over 60% and maintained elevated circulation for up to 3 hours post-exercise. No standing exercise produced comparable duration. 3 to 5 minutes. A chair. Measurable nerve recovery begins. Before I reveal number 1, the item this entire video has been building toward, I want to make sure you leave with something tangible. I created a free resource called the Senior Body Reset Guide specifically for this audience. Inside, you will find the complete seated nerve recovery protocol, the precise supplement forms and dosages for peripheral nerve support, and the post-meal glucose control strategy discussed today. The link is in the description. Download it now. It takes 30 seconds and may be the most useful thing you do today. Number 1, the nerve hydration window, and why timing this changes everything. Almost no one is talking about this, and I have been waiting until now to tell you because I needed you to understand everything that came before it. We have covered blood flow restriction, myelin oxidation, postprandial glucose damage, and soleus activation. All of it is real. All of it matters. But there is one final layer sitting beneath all of them, one that, when corrected, makes every other intervention dramatically more effective. Your peripheral nerves are surrounded by a precise fluid environment. That fluid, maintained by your body's systemic hydration, is what allows electrical signals to travel cleanly from your brain down to your feet and back again. In a dehydrated state, nerve signal transmission slows, surrounding tissue becomes more susceptible to compression, and the inflammatory markers that accelerate myelin breakdown increase significantly. But here is what will surprise you. It is not simply about drinking more water. It is about timing. A 2021 study from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke found that peripheral nerve conduction velocity improved by 23% in adults over 60 who consumed 12 to 16 ounces of water in the 20 minutes immediately before performing lower limb circulation exercises, compared to those performing identical exercises without prehydration. 23% improvement from timing alone. The mechanism. Pre-exercise hydration expands plasma volume, increasing oxygen delivery efficiency per soleus pump cycle. More fluid in the system means more healing per repetition. The exact application. Drink 12 to 16 ounces of room temperature water 15 to 20 minutes before your seated dorsiflexion session. Not during, not after, before. Twice daily, morning and late afternoon. This is the sequence. Hydration, then movement. The order is everything. 10 minutes ago, you believed that neuropathy was something happening to you, something progressing on its own timeline, beyond your control, best managed with medication and carefully lowered expectations. That is no longer true for you. You now understand that your peripheral nerves are not simply dying, they are being starved. Starved of blood flow by positions and patterns nobody warned you about. Starved of the right nutrients because the supplement you trusted was the wrong form. Starved of the biological conditions they need to repair themselves, conditions you now know exactly how to create. You have the mechanism. You have the interventions. You have the sequence. That is not a small thing. That is a fundamental shift in how you understand your own body and what remains possible inside it. In the next video, I'm going to show you something that connects directly to everything we covered today. The specific foods that either accelerate peripheral nerve destruction or actively rebuild myelin from the inside out. One food in particular, something most people consume every single day without a second thought, is causing damage that no amount of seated exercise can fully undo. You will want to see that one before your next meal. If you haven't downloaded the Senior Body Reset Guide yet, the link is waiting for you in the description below. It is free, it is specific, and it was built entirely around what your body needs after 60, not what works for a 35-year-old in a clinical trial. Here is what I want to leave you with. The body you are living in right now is not finished. It is not declining on a fixed schedule. It is waiting for the right information at the right time. Today, you received that.